All right, let's just dive right into it. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive mystery that has totally baffled parents, teachers, and honestly teenagers themselves for generations. We are looking at the fascinating and, yeah, sometimes frustrating anatomy of teenage fatigue. If you are ready to figure out the true causes behind this modern epidemic, you are in the exact right place. I mean, have you noticed this? You walk by a teenager and it's always, "I'm so tired," or "I have literally zero energy." And the crazy part? They say this even when they haven't lifted a finger all day. It's this universal question echoing in hallways and living rooms all over the world. Why are teenagers always tired? It's become such a common thing to say, but the actual answer goes way deeper than you might think. For literally decades, society has just brushed this off, right? Just labeling them as weak or lazy. But the reality, they are constantly exhausted. And it's not a character flaw. Modern teenage life is fundamentally different from the past. It's this really complex web of biological, emotional, and lifestyle factors that are basically teaming up to drain their bodies and minds every single day. So, to really get this, we've got to look at the hard science. Section 1, the biological reality, covering sleep debt and hormones. 8 to 10, that is the magic number. Teenagers desperately need 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night just to function properly. Why? Because their brains and bodies are going through this massive, rapid growth phase and intense hormonal changes. But let's be real, very few are actually hitting that target. Between studying, hanging out, and screen time, they're getting far less, and it sets them up for a severe deficit. And honestly, hitting that target is incredibly tough nowadays. And a huge part of that comes down to melatonin. Melatonin is basically the sleepy hormone. But when teens are lying in bed, just endlessly scrolling through their phones, that blue light literally blocks the body from producing melatonin. It tricks the brain into thinking, hey, it's daytime. So they struggle to fall asleep naturally, end up sleeping way too late, still have to wake up early for school, and boom, they slowly build up this massive crushing sleep debt that totally wrecks their mood and focus. Now, combine that sleep debt with wild hormonal fluctuations and rapid physical growth spurts. I mean, going through puberty is physically exhausting all on its own. It is completely normal to need extra rest during this phase, which is exactly why poor sleep habits become so incredibly devastating. The body is practically begging for recovery time that it simply isn't getting. But it's not just a physical thing. Let's move on to section 2, the modern mental load. Looking at stress and social media. Because today's teens, they are carrying this absolutely massive emotional burden. Think about it. You've got intense academic pressure, heavy expectations from society about their future careers, and this relentless chase for social media popularity. And honestly, the worst strain of all is probably the constant comparison. They're constantly comparing their actual messy, real lives to the perfectly edited highlight reels of everyone else online. It creates this quiet, constant state of anxiety and emotional exhaustion. And that brings us to cortisol. When a teen's brain is just spinning, worrying about passing a math test or agonizing over some drama in a group chat, the body pumps out this stress hormone. And here's the kicker. High cortisol levels literally make you feel mentally and physically drained. It proves you don't need to be out doing heavy physical labor to feel completely wiped out. Mental stress takes a very real, very severe physical toll. And the brain just never gets a break from it. Think about the sheer volume of frantic digital overstimulation happening all day long. Notifications pinging, rapid-fire short videos, the marathon of endless scrolling, constantly multitasking between homework and text threads. The modern teenage brain is basically stimulated almost all the time. Switching rapidly between all these inputs heavily reduces focus and literally fries the brain, leading to way shorter attention spans and deep mental fatigue. Then we have those everyday habits that are just quietly stealing their energy. Section 3, hidden drains. We're talking diet, dehydration, and inactivity. It's wild how poor daily choices translate directly into physical sluggishness. Skipping breakfast or trying to survive the morning on a sugary donut and an iced coffee, that's a one-way ticket to a huge blood sugar spike followed by an epic crash. Lacking enough iron literally starves the brain of oxygen, causing dizziness and weakness. And even just mild dehydration, just not drinking enough water, instantly leads to reduced focus, headaches, and noticeably lower energy levels. Now, this one sounds like a total paradox, but doing less actually makes you more tired. Sitting for hours at school or gaming all afternoon reduces blood circulation and kills stamina. On the flip side, getting up and moving around releases endorphins, strengthens the heart, and naturally boosts energy. It's crazy, but to get more energy, you actually have to expend a little energy first. Now, a super important caveat here. If a teenager is maintaining healthy habits, getting enough sleep, and they are still experiencing persistent extreme tiredness, it is time to consult a doctor. Constant fatigue can absolutely be the body's warning light, signaling deeper medical conditions, things like anemia, severe vitamin deficiencies, anxiety disorders, or an actual clinical sleep disorder. But for the vast majority, there is fantastic news. Let's look at Section 4, Empowering Solutions, and how to break the exhaustion cycle. The good news is, teenagers have a totally clear, actionable roadmap to take their energy back. Step 1, start prioritizing an earlier bedtime to hit that 8 to 10-hour mark. Step 2, protect your melatonin. Put the screens away before bed. Step 3, ditch the sugar crashes by eating healthier and drinking water. Step 4, exercise regularly to get that circulation going. And Step 5, take intentional tech breaks to let your brain actually relax without a notification popping up. These small changes make a massive, massive difference. And please remember this, constant exhaustion should not become a permanent lifestyle. Way too many teens, and even adults, just accept feeling drained as a normal part of life. Well, it isn't. These young bodies and brains are still developing, and how they are treated right now impacts their health far into the future. You do not have to accept exhaustion as your default setting. So I want to leave you with this final vital question. What small change will you make today to regain your energy? Listen, teenagers aren't lazy. They're just navigating this incredibly complex, demanding modern world. But once you actually understand the anatomy of this fatigue, you can beat it. Pick just one thing from today's explainer. Maybe it's drinking an extra glass of water or tossing the phone across the room 30 minutes before bed, and start taking your energy back today. Because honestly, if this is what modern life does to a developing brain right now, what happens if we don't change our habits? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I will see you next time.